One of the other things is there was no Jacob in those days. There was no Jesus because the J wasn't even there. I'll tell you something. Where the ignorance of the world is concerned, I know a little bit of Hindi. And bartan means dishes. So if I'm going to talk about bartan, I would put dishes with a D. Maybe the D is not even there. Let's go to Spanish. Amigo means friend, but amigo is an A, but when it is written into F.
Right.
Mañana, tomorrow.
Right.
It turned into a T. Now, Jacob, Jesus, none of them were born in England. They were not born over in the English Caribbean island.
Right.
It has to be interpreted from one language to the other. It was 54 scholars sent by James to do this. So when they come back, they had to turn all of this into English.
Right.
So I don't debate with ignoramuses because it is so simple and yet not understood.
Right.
If they were born in the Middle East and called John, then we would have had a problem there. But it was all
Translated.
right, from one language to another.
Right.
So we can go forward and don't even think about it because it is stupidity.
It does. It doesn't lend to any credibility.
No, it doesn't.
Because
why is Jesus born in the Middle East? His name is Jesus and it starts with a J, and J wasn't even there. For God's sake, go ahead and read and find out
right.
how this happened.
Yeah, I do believe beyond of all of that is that people again, the simplicity of it is that this book was translated into English 1611.
I would tell people to go and read the truth line of the Bible.
I would, yeah. Mm-hmm. We came to this part of the world at a certain time where the language that was being spoken was English.
Mm-hmm. When we come as slaves, they didn't even know no language here.
Right, right. So how are we going to relate to this now? How can you even begin to conceptualize and to sing songs? Like everything was prepared for us. It's as if we were going into the land of Canaan and everything is prepared for you. And then 400 years later, here you have it, and you have this uprising of people who are calling themselves Israelites. But as soon as they find out, it's like, oh well, it's not good enough.
Yeah.
It's not good enough. I mean, I remember when I started to follow this path and to walk this life of an Israelite, there was nobody calling themselves Israelites. There was nobody wanted to be an Israelite. I remember one seminar we were at Harbor Front, and it was just,
they wanted to spit on me.
Oh my! The reaction. I had never seen anything like that before in my entire life, and now everybody is an Israelite. Everybody wants to be an Israelite, but when you see and you hear all the stuff that comes out, you know what? It's better off you stay a Christian, because you have all this knowledge in front of you. You have all this.
But they would never have a big synagogue where they all go.
No.
They were never had. It doesn't matter what they are. When they were Christians, all of them had storefronts. Mm-hmm. They had 2 and 3 members. Just one got to be a king, and that's what it is. Don't forget, Moses had to go through that too. This is the time when the 30 pieces of silver is everywhere. Mm-hmm. This is the time of, I don't know what you call it. They don't have a name for it. That's why they name it COVID-19. It's much more than COVID-19, because everything that happened to Israel in the old days is happening to the Israelite nation right now.
That's true. That is true. As it was in
People are beginning to realize, because when it began to happen in those days, they were running and holding on in the skirt of the Israelites. Mm-hmm. But it didn't last too long. So this is exactly what's going on. Our support is getting mammoth, it's getting there, but we still have to do what we need to do. And don't worry that people are shouting in street corners and all of that. This is not a physical organization. Israel was never physical. Israel is always a spiritual entity because people cannot understand. And people says, if God gave you skin, why you gotta cut it off? The reason why He gave you skin for you to cut off, so that you could be different. And people don't understand that because most of them that is doing all of this are not even circumcised.
Right.
Because they're preaching a doctrine called circumcise your heart.
Right.
What the Bible is saying, what the God of Israel is saying, what you circumcise your foreskin, and your heart is not circumcised, you might as well not circumcise your foreskin.
Right.
That's all that it means.
Right.
But you must circumcise your foreskin.
According to the instructions, again, going back to instructions, that's what Abraham was instructed. So from his generation
And all
forward,
of his seed, all of his people, every one of his house has to be circumcised. You're talking to so-called people that look like me now, oh, you don't need to be circumcised anymore, but I'm an Israelite. Where did that come from? How could you be an Israelite and not circumcised?
it's a trademark.
Why would you not want to be circumcised if the instruction says be circumcised? And then why would you teach so? What would allow you to say you do not have to be circumcised when the scripture says
They're
that you
teaching
should be?
circumcision of the heart. We were called the circumcision. That was our name, the circumcision. And others were called the uncircumcision. So it simply means it's supposed to be a natural thing for an Israelite to be circumcised.
That is true.
You know, this is truly a different time, Elder, because there was a time where we wouldn't talk about this stuff so publicly.
I know.
We wouldn't.
You know, a few years ago too, I think, the girls cornered me in a room to say, we talked to some strange lady, they talked to some woman that was coming, and they're telling the woman with unclean. What, you can talk about that too? Of course we talk about that.
Yeah,
You got to know when you're unclean and when you're clean. We're not Christians,
Right.
so we need to understand
Right.
these things.
And I think that's one of the things that most people can't seem to get over their head, or can't seem to get over that hurdle, is that we are actually not Christians. So when Christianity raises its head, or when somebody tries to pick up the Bible or tries to teach us, that's where that's offensive.
That shouldn't be.
It's extremely offensive because this book is an Israelite book. So whatever stipulations that Christians are under, whatever jurisdiction that they're under, it does not apply to us.
Never will apply.
It never applies to us. So whatever teachings that people might have, or preconceived notions that somebody might have in regards to the Israelite nation, the first thing that they have to throw out is that we are not Christians, and
We're not Christians. We have to deal with circumcision on uncleanliness.
Right. And
We have to deal with that,
and that's
because it's a natural form of the body.
yes, and that's the confusion of it all. Because with Christianity, there are no rules. There are no rules. You just be a good person, and you're good, and then you'll somehow get to the pearly gates, and Peter will be there waiting for you to let you in, and let your dog in, and let your cat in, and let everybody in, just regardless of what you've done and who you are. Just go in. So it's really confusing to somebody like us, or someone or who we are, when we read the scriptures and we get a completely different understanding than what is actually being taught. Like, even for examples, when we see things and somebody says to us, well, why are your women wearing pants?
Oh, Lord.
You know what I mean? It's like
Let's talk about that. Why are the women wearing pants? Number one.